Here are some frequently asked questions about COVID. Volume 2. What to do when your student is sick or exposed to someone who is COVID positive. My student feels sick today. If I keep them at home, will they be counted truant? If your student feels sick, they should check their symptoms on the self-screener, submit it, and follow the directions, which will say to stay home. They will be counted absent, but it is an excused absence. If your student feels sick and goes to school, they will be sent back home. My student's siblings are sick. Should I keep my student home? Unless your other child or children have tested positive for COVID, your student can go to school. Watch for any symptoms. Testing is recommended for anyone who is sick. Someone in our house just tested positive. What do we do now? If someone in your house tests positive, all family members should quarantine right away. If your students are at school when you get the result, call the school to tell the nurse, go pick up your students from school, and take them home to stay for 10 days. If your students do not start having any symptoms, you can get them tested after 5 days. If their test result is negative, they can go back to school on day 7. If you choose not to test, they stay home for 10 days. Contact your students' teachers about learning from home during this time. My student just tested positive and feels sick. What do we do now? Keep your student home for 10 days. Everyone in your home will also need to stay home for 10 days. Your student may return to school after 10 days if they don't have symptoms for at least 24 hours without using medications. If family members test 5 days after the last day they were exposed to the positive student and get a negative test result, they can go back to regular activities on day 7. My student just tested positive, but they feel fine. Can they go to school? No! Your student and other household members must stay home and quarantine for 10 days. Even if they don't feel sick, they can spread COVID to others who may get very sick. My student feels sick, but they're fully vaccinated. What do we do? If your student feels sick, keep them at home. If they have COVID symptoms, testing is still recommended. My student got a letter that said they were exposed to someone positive for COVID. What happens now? The letter means that someone in one of their classes tested positive. It does not mean that your student must stay at home. Your student will still go to school, but they will be on a modified quarantine and will not be allowed to do extracurricular activities for the quarantine period. Participation in sports or other extracurricular activities will not be allowed. Nothing except attending classes. What does modified quarantine mean? Modified quarantine is for students who have been exposed to a person who tested positive, but everyone was masked. The student who is positive must stay at home, but the students who may have been exposed are allowed to come to school. At school, they must keep their mask on at all times, even outside. They can take it off to eat, then put it on as soon as they are finished eating. They can't do any class activities that require their mask to be off, like playing a woodwind or brass instrument. They can't participate in any after-school activities, like sports teams or community activities. They must also get a COVID test after the 5th day. My student was exposed to someone positive at school, but they're fully vaccinated. What happens now? If your student is fully vaccinated, please send a copy of the vaccination card to the school nurse. Your student will not be required to quarantine unless they start having symptoms. Thank you for watching. If you have any more questions, please watch the other 2 videos to see if they are answered. As always, please feel free to contact your student's school for more information.